today. You had your big scoop.
I'm you know what? I think I did. I think it's safe to say it
This
was
is
a
your
pretty big
big
scoop.
scoop.
Yeah.
This is the biggest scoop you've ever had. Has to be, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yes, it is because this is like news that wasn't announced at all, and I kind of broke it. Yes.
Unless it turns out to be wrong, and then in which case,
Oh
you're
yeah,
fired.
for
But
sure. Yeah, I will like the SpongeBob meme gif where he buries himself in the dirt. I'll do that to myself. So Battlefield 2 is coming out this year, but it's actually called Battlefield 5. It takes place during World War II. I can explain that more. So I've had this information for a little bit, kind of been trying to bounce it around to verify certain portions of it. Was able to do that this morning. I just kind of sat down and wrote it out. And as I wrote the story, it was basically EA's next Battlefield is called Battlefield 2, and it's called that because it takes place during World War II. And that was the gist of it. There was a few other tidbits, basically like EA knew it wanted to do World War II, but it also was like, let's try to stretch this out a little bit. So we're gonna do World War I first, and if that game fizzles, we can always go to World War II, and we know that's sort of bankable right now. So that was kind of their plan all along. But after literally right after I published it, I started seeing this tweet about this image of Battlefield 5, the Roman numeral 5 with the V. And I'm like, that looks pretty weird. But I'll try to see if I can find out if it's real. Turns out, yeah, the game recently had its name changed internally at EA to Battlefield 5. And
Battlefield 2 is always weird because there wasn't
right,
Battlefield
exactly,
2.
exactly. So in the original story, right in that first paragraph, I'm like, it's Battlefield 2, but that name's probably going to change, or very well could change. So I try to make it clear. It's such a weird name choice that it has to just be a code name for now. Turns out that was the case. Battlefield 5 could also be a placeholder in terms of a final name, but I think it's probably safe to say it'll be Battlefield 5 and then maybe a subtitle, but probably just Battlefield 5 because it just makes sense marketing wise. Their games have all kind of had just the number, and it's been fine. But yeah, this is not too surprising, I think, right?
No, I mean, there was clearly a clamor even before Call of Duty finally went back to World War II. It was like clear a couple of years, maybe at least a year before that people wanted that to happen.
Right.
And I'm sure EA was aware of that. Like you said, they kind of knew they were going to go down that route eventually. Especially, I mean, Modern Warfare was just played out. Even like Battlefield did the whole sci-fi thing a long time ago, and it never really worked out for them. So they weren't going to do like the Advanced Warfare or Infinite Warfare thing that Call of Duty did, right? So yeah, going to World War II just makes sense. It's this series' roots, and yeah, people are kind of. It's fair. And I know that it's interesting to me. My favorite Battlefield is still just 1942.
Yeah,
I liked all that World War II stuff in that game. I felt like it made the most sense for that kind of game in a lot of even Battlefield 1. It's neat, but like a lot of it, they kind of have to they basically try to make it closer to like a World War II experience. Like, no, the tanks are actually effective. Look, and it's not just trenches. And yeah, see.
Yeah, I'll say a couple things. Like, people were like, oh, the name is weird. Why wouldn't they just call it Battlefield 1944? Because there was a 42, 43, 44. I'm like, I think the name recognition, I think they just think, oh, the sequel to Battlefield 4 is more recognizable these days than the PC-only games 1942 and 3. Those games, I think, came to Xbox later, maybe.
1943 was like a weird digital. It was basically a digital, it wasn't really a sequel. It was kind of
it was just
an updated version of 42.
Totally,
it wasn't
exactly.
Much.
Right. Exactly. So it would be a weird lineage anyhow. And then also people were like, oh, but the rumor, well, at least some people, because I think a lot of people realized this rumor wasn't accurate. Like, oh, I thought it was going to be Bad Company 3. I was tracking that down as well. That it just doesn't sound like that's happening.
That's wishful thinking, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. So what I understand is DICE hears everyone wanting the Bad Company games to come back, and it sounds like they are holding it in reserve for when they need it. They don't need it right now. Is kind of what it comes down to.
That's one that again, I feel like when that happens, it will be Bad Company 3. It'll be kind of like not really, kind of a reboot of that concept. Right. It'll be Worst Company or something.
Yeah, and I mean those games were like console first. Like it was a weird time
back in those days. Back when you had like Call of Duty Big Red One. And stuff.
Right.
Well, it was a little bit after that actually, but yeah.
But I mean, it was that same general idea though, for sure. So it's just like that would never happen these days. Right. So it kind of gives them an opportunity to rethink how that would work.
The whole franchise is really different. It feels like kind of pre Battlefield 3.
Right.
Like since Battlefield 3, it's been on a pretty predictable trajectory. Like before that, you had weird things like Battlefield 2042 and
Right.
Vietnam, and like even though this next is gonna be Battlefield 5, it's like the 8th or 9th one.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to start counting these games. Yeah, exactly. There's weird offshoots, Battlefield Online, for sure.
Oh, Battlefield Online was a thing.
Yeah, for real. I was like I was going through the wikis and like looking at all the games that ever come out, and I'm like, how does the numbering on this series work? And yeah.
What's it called? Battlefield Heroes?
There was also Battlefield Heroes.
I was just thinking of Battlefield Heroes.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, then never mind.
Yeah, they're like two separate things completely. It's weird. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, we have more news. That's kind of the big scoop for today.
Good job, Jeff. You did it.
Thank you. I might have some more stories coming out soon. They won't be as big as this, but they're scoops. So a little tease. Maybe that.
I like when you tease me, Jeff.
Yeah. Maybe that Garden Warfare 3 thing is actually real. Turns out. Ooh, maybe. We'll see. The White House. That's a big White House.
Oh God.
Yeah. The Webster's Dictionary defines the White House. Okay, so Trump is apparently going to have a meeting with the game industry. That's what his press secretary, Sarah Sanders, said during a press conference today with the White House press corps. They were